Wake up, Adam, they are getting close.
What is the money for? It's for our next war. What is the money for? They just reach and grab some more. What is the money for? It's for our next war. What is the money for? They just reach and grab some more.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. The U.S. announces $345 million military aid package for Taiwan. After saying that we support the One China policy, now we are basically sending them some gear. It says that the U.S. on Friday announced a $345 million in military aid for Taiwan, which appears to be the next Ukraine, in what is the JB administration's first major package drawing on Americans' own stockpiles to help Taiwan counter China. So if you take like what we have been saying for a long time, that this is going to end up being a world conflict between us, NATO, and Russia, and China is going to be involved, this picture that is painted here definitely looks like we are going into a world war. Mike Minahan, of course, in charge of shipping cargo all over the world for the military, essentially told in a memo to his employees and to his soldiers that he believed to, actually, he didn't even say he believes, he said to tell his guys to get ready for a war with China by 2025. Then made some very big decisions that affected our entire military cargo system, which was to remove identifying numbers off of a ton of our planes. If not all or majority of, ended up, doing this shady thing and removing these identifier numbers. With him saying things like this and all of these other things that are lining up, it looks like what is being said on TV and by media and what is actually being wrote down in the DoD documents and what is being put into the budget and what is being given to other countries does not line up at all. It looks like they are actually going to back up Taiwan. But again, they have said, oh, we support the One China policy. In that meeting, they said that, and they were expecting an open line of communication for military, and China basically said nope. So maybe they changed their mind. I don't know. It says the White House announcement said that the package would include defense, education, and training for the Taiwanese. Washington will send man-portable air defense systems, or man-pads, probably the worst name for a weapon in the military, intelligence and surveillance capabilities, firearms, and missiles, according to U.S. officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive matters ahead of the announcement. U.S. lawmakers have been pressuring the Pentagon and the White House to speed up weapons to Taiwan. The goals are to help it counter China and deter China from considering attacking by providing Taipei with enough weaponry that it would make the price of invasion too high. The package is in addition nearly $19 billion in military sales of F-16s and other major weapon systems that the U.S. has approved for Taiwan. And again, that $19 billion is actually going to be sold. It's not a gift, right? It says delivery of those weapons has been hampered by supply chain issues started during the CV-19, the DEM, and of course have been exacerbated by global defense industrial base pressures created by Russia's invasion of UKR. I think this is all one big picture, and of course what is being painted to us is a whole lot different through the media eyes compared to what is being done in the documents, and the actual official releases basically say that they are focused on China and Russia. Now, there's probably a million propaganda statements in between, and there's probably some sort of psyop that's there as well, but it definitely looks like we are going to war. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below, and we'll be right back with a jam-packed show. Dex is back. We'll bring him in just a second, and we'll see you in a minute. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfugglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
What is the money for? It's for our next war. What is the money for? They just reach and grab some more.
All right, what is going on? Aberdeen in the house. David Key, what is happening? If you want to do a quick roll call, where are you from? Tell me in chat. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing tonight?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So now that you're back, probably say you ended up spending some time with family, and one of your very close family members had a pretty congratulatory thing that went down.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
you want to go ahead and I'll let you tell it.
sure. We family got together. We'd planned this for quite a long time, and had a visit to an undisclosed location. I don't want to give that away. And in the process, one of my oldest children proposed to his girlfriend, and that was a very awesome thing that we were able to pull off. Some of us were in on it. Some people had no clue. Obviously, the bride-to-be was clueless and very surprised and accepting too. So she said yes, and it was a great day for everyone.
Well, congratulations to your son, and that's really, really awesome. And may they have the rest of their lives together. Before we get started, obviously, if you're new here, there's a lot to go over, and there's a lot of articles. We're not doing callers tonight because we have so much crazy stuff that's going on, but we also will be continuing that next week. I have not had Dex to help with the website and other things, so we caught up on that. All of the bibliographies for the previous shows are now up on the website. And then, of course, there is every night a bibliography for every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to show you here today. In fact, when you go to the website, you'll see it's all organized by thumbnail. So all you have to do is look for today's thumbnail, ready for a grid down, new grid warnings. And it's funny. We'll talk about that in just a second. They're essentially saying that there may be a huge meltdown of our grid. I'll tell you what I think about that. And it's kind of freaky because if you think about all of the different things that are possible, maybe that's telling us this because when it does happen, they don't want people to panic and they'll think, oh, it's this thing that they told us about. It's not going to be a giant deal, when in reality it could be something else. And to minimize panic and to minimize rioting and looting and whatever else, because people will think the lights are coming back on. I don't know, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. And then on the website, once you click on our thumbnail, you'll find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document right there at your fingertips. Plus, there's a whole lot more. We'll talk about that at the very end. At the very bottom of the page, there is the web-only content. So thank you, Robert Rodriguez, Lynn Hunley, Wide Awake and Angry. What is happening? Peaceful Warrior Debbie is here. We've got One Happy Granny. Let's see here. We've got Steve McQueen, thank you so much for being here. Hugh Stone, Texas. Our guy, 936. Let's see here. Adam, you were the only news I believe in, Karen Rax. Well, just to let you know, I really do appreciate that. But I don't think because we cover mainstream and we, talk about it and analyze it, I would say be careful believing everything right now, because you have to take everything with a grain of salt, as we say in our intro, because right now, there's been a couple things this last week where I have had some hardcore beliefs that I have believed in for a very long time, and I have had that switched up on me. And as they say, it's harder to, it's easy to fool a man. It's harder to convince a man he has been fooled. There's been a couple things where I've always thought this thing, and someone who I trust basically showed me the proof. They're like, this is how it's going to go down. And it tripped me out. And it honestly, I was kind of in denial. I do believe we are going into war. That is my honest opinion. A lot of people, anybody who says that, if you say that to your friends and family, they're going to give you crap. They're going to think you're either crazy, paranoid, you're scared, that you're a fearmonger, whatever they want to call you. I would say at this point, when this stuff does go down, and I do believe it will go down, what are they going to say to you then? They're going to be knocking on your door. They're going to be the first ones to come over to your house because they know you've been prepping. And that's why a lot of preppers right now are just keeping them very low key and not telling people about what they got, what kind of supplies they have. And they're not talking about it. But that does compound the situation, because the more people that are unprepared, the worse that it's going to be. Especially if it's, say it's not a 18-month grid down scenario, if it's just a temporary one for even a week or 2 weeks, we know within the first 3 days, it's going to be chaos in entire countries if a grid goes down. So even if it comes on after a week, there will be people perishing. There will be horrible events that happens. There will be rioting, looting, all sorts of things. Even if they have a new Black Start program and a plan to basically get the grid back up and running, it's still going to be a bad scenario. So these are things you want to think about before something like this happens. And if it doesn't happen, and I hope it doesn't happen, then great. You're prepared for any kind of disaster. You're prepared for any kind of tornado, earthquake, fire, whatever it may be. You have extra food, water, and you're set up. The balance part of it is that you have to be responsible with it, and you can't go nuts and sell your house and live in a tunnel or something. At the same time, you should have extra food. You should have extra water. Everybody has insurance on everything else, but they don't. They have 3 days of food in their fridge. That's stupid, in my opinion. All right, and then make sure to go check out the mods page. Again, this is Friends of Marfoogle. Not only are great mods there, make sure to drop an M in the chat for the mods. We've got Bones, Chance, CJ, Jem, Jam, and Lisa, Rip, RJL, Ilea, Trinity, and Wages World. So make sure to go check out their channels and many more down below. Those are all channels that we think are awesome people on and off camera. Dex, before we move on to some of the other stuff here, they're giving our gear to Taiwan, as if it's not enough that we're giving Ukraine all of this gear. Now we're giving Taiwan gear. Something doesn't sit right with this.
No, and there's two big things, in my opinion, that don't sit right with me. One, the fact that we are giving away our gear, and we've just been talking about how we've been short on some of the supplies. Obviously, it's not the exact same thing that they're giving. It's different. But then the other thing is what they're doing. The mode they're going through is a mode in which we give away our equipment from our military. And we're doing that for the need of speed. In other words, expediency is important here. So that's a big clue, because they have the money. And if you recall, we talked about the $19 billion F-16 agreement that we agreed to sell them, but that doesn't happen fast enough. That's just a big blank check that allows us to make the planes and send them to them, which can take years for that to actually happen. By going down this route as the gift, we're able to send over things immediately, because we take them immediately out of our inventory and hand it directly over to them. So that's expediency, and that's a big clue here, and I think we should pay attention to.
Exactly. This is instant. It's kind of like when the Australians had a deal with France to make them submarines that was going to take 12 to 15 years or something like that. They ended up cutting that deal with France, pissing them off really bad. In fact, France basically was just absolutely furious. And instead of that 15-year deal, they could buy it from the U.S. within 2 years. So that was also part of this whole AUKUS deal. And now Australia and the U.S. is going to have, they're going to have a bunch of submarines all over the ocean, and it's part of their whole system. There's so much bad information out there, and there's so much spun information that it's really hard to figure out what's going on. There are so many views just in our audience, just in the people that are in chat right now. There's so many different branches. I've compared it to like fiber optic, those lights that you get it at a theme park or something, or from a cart, that when you push the button, the light goes through 1,000 little fiber optics, and the light carries through all of these different paths. That's how I feel like the thoughts of every single person in this room are, because everybody believes they may all agree on this, but then they disagree on 50 other subjects. The main thing is, the main thing that everybody back at the very base of that light could believe in is that we should prepare for the unexpected and prepare for the unlikely disasters and things that happen. And it would make us all more solid, especially if we lived like other countries do. There are countries where their governments actually tell them to prep, that train them to prep, that show this stuff on TV. Heck, even Russia tells people on a weekly or monthly basis how to keep food longer, how to prep food and things like this. This is something that, may look crazy or whatever, but if you really think about it down to the base level of it, it is responsible. If you have long-term storage food, all of us have gone through one disaster or another. It doesn't, I don't care who you are. You've most likely went through at least some sort of disaster, whether it be a power down or heck, half of California had a forced blackout where some people went 8 days without power. A lot of those people did not have stuff stored up. I mean, that's crazy. So with this going on right now, it is really, really important to let your friends and family know, to get them prepped. You don't have to come at them with an apocalypse. Again, I don't think it's going to be an apocalypse, but I do think it's going to be bad. And don't come at them with the bad stuff. Just say, hey, we're very prone for earthquakes here. We're prone for this. Do you have a plan? The more that you bring that up in a subtle way, the more likely it is they're going to get prepared. And I think someday they will thank you. I know, just for telling people to prepare on our show, people have thanked us all over the country because they've had a regional disaster or a flood or something else where they've had stuff only because we just kept reminding them. So there's been a lot of events. Just in the last 5 years, we've had freezings. A lot of people in Texas thanked us after that one frozen storm where my brother-in-law got stuck out in the snow. There were a lot of people that had extra food that basically got stuck for 3 or 4 days. So there's a lot of events that will happen in the near future that are on a way bigger scale than this. So we definitely have to get our stuff together. And then America's biggest electrical grid operator with 65 million customers warns its network could fail during upcoming heat wave. So this is probably going to be a theme going forward, because they're saying that the great change is changing everything and that heat is going to get hotter. Heat's going to get hotter and water's going to get wetter. But America's biggest electrical grid operator, PJM, basically has issued a level 1 emergency alert, warning its 65 million customers of the increasing likelihood of outages amid an ongoing heat wave. Currently gripping states in the Midwest, Northeast, and South, the high temperatures are set to persist this week, meteorologists have revealed, leading PJM Interconnection to issue a stern warning on Wednesday. PJM says that it currently expects to have sufficient power to meet the usual summertime demands. Bosses say that they have also reserved capacity to meet additional demand as Americans run their air conditioners to cool down. But they warn that they face challenges trying to meet contingency reserves, which are required during times of exceptionally high demand, such as extreme weather events. It says the country's biggest grid operator, PJM, oversees power throughout a 13-state region, and it's tasked with managing and paying an on-call generators to keep those state systems running. It coordinates the movement of electricity, locales as far east as New Jersey and as far west as Tennessee. Areas in both states were under excessive heat warnings Thursday as hotter than normal temperatures that have been affecting the South expanded to the Midwest and Northeast this week. With this in mind, officials at Pennsylvania-based operator warned residents in affected states like Ohio and Kentucky to keep their air conditioners on to the end of the work week to fight temperatures that will feel over 100 degrees in some areas. So at the same time, if this is a huge chunk, and it is part of a grid, people really have to realize that all of these in one way or another are connected. And if parts of it go down, it can affect other parts. And if something happens to this, or if any of the groups or the 3-letter agencies that are pretending to be these groups decides to do a Fantastic Freddy or do some sort of event and take advantage of this and screw up parts of this grid, then we could even have a bigger problem. But that's, again, hopefully unlikely. Either way, they're saying that this could happen. Dex, as far as if this whole area has some sort of meltdown, it could be horrendous.
Yeah, a heat wave is the absolute worst time to have an outage, but it's also one of the more prone times because everybody is running their AC at full blast just to try to keep the heat out, especially in these northern environments where they don't typically deal with heat. Just like where you live, you guys don't even have central heating and air typically. It's not common. You might have a window unit here or there because you occasionally need it, which is totally different down here in the South where high temperatures are normal. We have heavy insulation and we run HVAC all the time. We have heat pumps that run just to keep ourselves normal. But when you get up further north, people aren't necessarily used to that as often or for as long a time. So as this is happening, it's putting a huge strain on the grid. And by the way, the PJM interconnect, just so you guys know, for all of you that may not know which interconnect you're operating on, this covers Delaware, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and DC. So it's a pretty big, I think they said 65 million customers. It's a lot of people in that area. And now, mind you, we talk about this heat wave. Everybody's been talking about Arizona, and they still have it. It's super hot there. They're setting record there. And hopefully it's moving out soon, but they're having their own troubles. But, for these northern cities that are going to be hit with this heat, it's a much different issue for them than some of us that are used to it, just maybe not at this level.
And as far as 65 million, we have 375 million in the country. So this is, 1/6 of our country or something like that could go down. This is a huge deal. And if it was worst case scenario, we're talking about, whole cities going down. This would be absolutely nuts if it happened. The thing is many people don't kind of blink an eye to this, but this is something that could happen to all of us. A grid down scenario is one of the most threatened kind of resolves from all of our adversaries. We've talked about super EMP weapons. We've talked about fractional orbital bombardment systems. We've talked about solar flares or a Carrington-level event hitting us. Everyone thinks that this is some far-off science fiction movie to happen. It's not. There are military in our groups that say that the military is actively and every single day talking about these kind of issues because they believe it is the most likely. They're drilling for no GPS. They think that the satellites are going to get knocked out at the same time. They have been drilling to land on highways and freeways. They've been drilling to run and do comms without power. And not to mention, they've been moving generators all over the country. You can see videos all over the place of these massive, massive convoys, and they're just generators, all generators. And everybody always responds, oh, they do that stuff all the time. It's that time of the year. Everybody says that. But these are the same people that say that usually are not currently serving, or they're not at all related to the military. A lot of the military folks know when they start seeing stuff move like this on a massive scale that something is either going on or they're drilling for something to go on. Right now, we have Foogle family members that are actively serving right now saying that they are preparing for war. That is something I don't say lightly. I don't try to scare people for views. We get the same views no matter what happens. We don't get, we don't get pushed at the top of the algorithm. We haven't for like 3 years. So it's like when we do these things, either way, we're going to get the same amount of loyal people that watch the show. It doesn't go crazy or anything, especially on a 2-hour live show. There's not many new people that watch a 2-hour live show. Where we get most of our people is from our 10-minute videos. So when I say this, I'm talking to all of you guys who've watched this for years. Like this is time to start looking at your stocks and look at what you have and look at your plan. Have a basic plan with family. And I've said it so many times that it's probably beating a dead horse by now. But at the same time, this is we've never received this kind of just the same message. And I've always said this because anybody that knows how much all the stuff that we get, normally it's a fad, or it's something that if we're getting a ton of information at the same time, it's usually because a bunch of people are watching somebody else's YouTube video, and then it starts like this kind of domino effect, and everybody starts talking about that, and they all send the same source, like, oh, this guy has an anonymous source, this or that, and this says this. I'm not talking about those like even the fringe people that aren't even on the platforms that are like got their own websites and you have to pay to see the disaster that could happen or that is going to happen according to an anonymous source. I'm talking about real Fugel family members actively serving right now are getting prepped. We had people bug out about 2 or 3 months ago during some of the stuff that went down, and a lot of people think, oh, well, why did they do that? They were taking precautions that were over the top, in my opinion, but I understand why. Because there's things that are going on right now all the time that we as civilians do not find out. And if we do find out, we find out afterwards. If you look at events like the Cuban Missile Crisis and all these things, the famous events where things really almost went bad, that we only find out, way later. These kind of things are happening all the time. We're going to talk about later. There's, several, there's been several incidents that could have turned really, really bad, but usually these countries call each other and square it away, or they cover it up, or they say, oh, this person perished of a heart attack, when really they got shot down accidentally. These things are happening on a daily basis. When it happens at the wrong time, at the wrong place, that is when everything can go bad. We know things can go bad. CV-19, whether it was manufactured, whatever was going on with that, there were thousands and thousands of people walking through the streets, breaking windows, doing all this stuff. It shut down the world for 5 months. Regardless of what you think the origins or who did it or who was behind it or why they did it, there are still places here in Seattle that are still boarded up. There's all of downtown is empty, completely empty. So if you don't think that a major event could happen and that could happen soon, look at where we are. Look at all of the precipices we're at. Look at our technological advancement. We're doing AI. All of these things are coming forward. They're talking about most jobs are going to be gone in just a couple years. And up until the very point when you get your job taken or somebody close to you gets your job taken, people are going to go, oh, it's not a big deal. People want to put it in the back of their heads. Right now is the time. It's definitely the time to think about what you are going to be doing in the near future. So, and if you've watched me for a long time, which most of you have, most of you are regulars, then you know I don't say this very often. People should have their stuff together by now. Grid down is one of the most likely, and it is what they are planning for. It is what they are drilling for. It is what they are doing exercises. Just on the 26th, 2 days ago, they were doing massive black start drills. Black start is the program to restart our grid. If you look at all of the other signs that are happening right now, it's pretty clear to see that there is a high probability of that event over any of these other crazy ones. Less worried about Yellowstone and more worried about, something happened to our grid, regardless if it's a 3-letter agency or our 3-letter agency or an adversary doing it. It seems like they would even set it up so it looks like it's people from inside this country doing it. But they're definitely doing the setup. And they're definitely it's definitely trickling down the military. All right, and then Tiffany says, welcome back, Dex, and congrats. Hey, Adam, longtime fan, new to making to the lives and to chat, finally working remotely now and able to join. Hey to all the Fugel fam, super happy to be here live. Hey, Tiffany, hey, thank you for making it, and welcome. I guess you're a long time, but to anybody that's new, too, I'm glad you could make it to today's show. And then B-Real B says, God bless and thank you. Well, thank you, B-Real. Thanks for supporting Independent. And Neil Nelson, I think I missed you yesterday, the day before yesterday. Neil Nelson, thank you so much. Nana of Montana, thank you. Michael Thompson, thank you for the support. Stephanie Cook, Jolene Rice, KT Cleans a Lot, BOD, Geneva Cordoba, and Bodhi Sattva, David Watt, Liz Potter, K Rec, CMAC, and Pam B, Sharon Davis, and Next Exit. Thank you for this week's support. All right, and then Phoenix brings in refrigerated morgues to prepare for influx of heat-related deaths as temperatures soar above 110 degrees. Dex, didn't they just have 19 days straight of 110 plus, and they're having it again?
Yeah, we reported on this. We've been reporting on these guys for a while. There's a map in this article. If you could scroll down to it, it says midsummer heat wave. It's got a lot of red on it, which is pretty much a lot of America right now. But it's fascinating to see the range of heat temperatures from 114 in Phoenix, 94 in Chicago, 94 in New York, 100 in Kansas. I mean, these are very high temperatures that we don't normally, maybe in Phoenix you'll see it every now and then, but you're not going to see it for so many days straight. I think they're 25 days of having high heat temperatures, and or no, I'm sorry, that may be the number of that have confirmed perished. But as we last reported, it was in the double digits, the teens, and it may be getting close to that 20 number if it's not already there now, where they've been well over 100. So these numbers are serious for people. We've look, the other thing, we've got a lot of people that are displaced, that are not living in homes anymore. Some are living in cars, some are just living flat out on the streets in a lot of these cities. And that's a difficult situation to be in for them as well. And what's crazy is you think of when you even looking at this map, it's like if you want to get cool, you either go all the way up to Seattle for 80 or you go all the way down to Miami. Who would think to go to Miami to be cooler than Phoenix or Dallas or even Kansas City for that matter?
And what's so crazy is here it's been really hot, 80 for like weeks straight, right? And it is a blessing. Like, we have not had a summer like this in years. A couple of years ago, we had the 118 degree day. There hasn't been like a perfect summer where it's just nice enough to where you can go out and get burned, which in Seattle is almost impossible. But as far as like this goes, look at this map. Doesn't this remind you of the frozen map? A couple years ago, we had all freezing temperatures in all of these places. This is now, all of these places are in the 90s. All of the pink is in 80s and 90s. The orange is in 70, 60. There's very little place. All the way over here, if you look at this, most of the country is in 80, 90, 100. Most of it is in 90-degree temperatures right now. This is so crazy. This is the exact reverse of that frozen thing that happened about a year ago, where it was like all of these places were essentially negative temperatures, right? We're seeing the extremes on both ends. Now, you guys can debate on whether it's our fault or whether it's if it's cyclical and this is we're going into an ice age. Whatever it is, we know that it's changing, or it's the people above us and all over. Who knows? But again, it's happening. And I look at this and I think about the grid. Look at the grid of all of these places. When it's this hot, every single person is going to be running their AC. ACs all over the country are running at the same time. This is one, if you think about it, there's three main parts to this grid. So this is, and then 9 transformers is all it takes to knock out the whole thing. Not to mention, like Dex said, all of the people that are displaced. We covered when the evictions moratorium ended, there were more people evicted than ever in history. And it was done after the date of it ending. It was like right after that, all of these evictions kept in. And within 3 months, there were more people out on the street than ever before. And then because of CV, because all these companies lost they couldn't open for 5 months, 4 months straight, whatever it was. I can't tell you how many closed salons just had to close down completely. And even on the secondary and third shutdowns, I told you guys, I knew somebody who ran a salon. They even saved 2 months of rent. So if a disaster happened, they could pay. And then they had to get shut down again. And it was done. They had to sell their place. It's like there were so many places like that, so many small businesses. And then you add on to that all of the riots that happened for months straight about all of this and that. And it was so funny. Everybody's standing up for the people, but They weren't destroying the government buildings. They were destroying mom and pop businesses. All those mom and pop businesses, all of those businesses that keep our economy going, all got destroyed, all got boarded up, and haven't come back. All the restaurants that shut down. We did a video on all of the big box stores that are closing down. On top of this, you have the online, the kind of everybody's migrating towards online shopping. All of these physical brick and mortar stores are closing down. We're doing a video right now that's talking about the restaurants. The restaurants that are closing right now is so staggering compared to the big box stores. All of these ma and pa restaurants are closing down, and big restaurants, McDonald's, Starbucks, whatever else. I mean, Dex, there's a huge list. I mean, did you remember any of those numbers? It was in the hundreds of thousands, all closing down. All of this is going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a significant number. Obviously, coming out of the CV experience, really knocked everybody back tremendously.
And I think about all of the homeless people right now that are in this entire country in 100-degree, 110-degree weather, don't have money for rent, let alone for an AC. It just is really bad. Really, really bad. And I'm praying for everybody. I'm praying for you if you're watching. If you are homeless right now and you're watching from your car or from somewhere else, make sure to park in shade. Make sure to drink tons and tons of water, just overly. Like, just drink as much as you can. And, whatever you have to do, hang out wherever. I don't know what the best advice is, but shoot, find a Starbucks, find a grocery store, pretend you're buying steaks for 2 hours. Whatever you have to do, just do not... I just hope you stay safe. I really do. And then France's watchdog questions legality of Worldcoin biometric data collection. So, as you guys know, there's so many crypto people here, and I know they hate when I talk about it because everybody has their thing, because there's a lot of crypto people, they believe it is the way, that it is the future. And it most likely is. But when I first heard about like Bitcoin and that they didn't know who actually created it, it's my brain always works to the thing where it's like, that's shady. And they were like, you don't actually have it. It's on a computer thing and it's in this network of computers. And I doubted it. In fact, it was like $13 or $33, something like that. It was something crazy when I found out what the price was when I found out about Bitcoin, and somebody says, you should buy it. You could get, I think it was $33, oddly enough. And it was $33 for a whole Bitcoin. And this guy was telling me about it, and I was like, what the heck? And I was like, you don't know who made it. They think they know who made it. You don't hold on to it. It's in the network, so if the grid goes down, I get that there's 70% of it has to go down for it all to go down, or whatever it was. I always doubted it. And I always thought, man, one of these days, whoever created it is just going to run off with all the money or something, right? I know there's crypto people who are like, no, that can't possibly happen because of this and this and that. I get it. I'm just telling you what my mind frame was when it came out. And for years and years and years, they've talked about digitalizing, having a digital identity, basically making it so there is no anonymous people on the internet, and also tracking every single dollar, every single thing that is spent. Crypto, we all, and a lot of us that don't know much about crypto says, oh, well, you mean it's so you can do things in secret and you can do it just like cash and whatever else. Well, we've seen hack after hack where people stole large amounts of crypto, that basically the feds, the government, were able to actually interject, go to the company that was doing the dealings, and actually get that money back. They tracked it, and they found out who did it. So I always thought, I'm like, how do they do that if it's all being done on the sly? Whatever the answer is, I don't know. I'm just telling you my mind frame of it. And then they keep coming out with more and more and more. Meanwhile, the entire world has been going through this technological advance of AI, of deep fakes, of cloning voice technology, to the point where people don't know if a picture is real. They don't know if a video is real. They don't know if an audio clip is real. All of these things can be fake now. And now they're making this Worldcoin. Dex, this Worldcoin is so freaky. Literally, they were giving people Worldcoin if they scanned their irises. What in the world is this?
Yeah. So, and this is, and by the way, there's actually two articles here, folks, we're going to cover. They're kind of together, and one of them describes what it is, and which I'll tell you about, and the other one is what we're talking about now. Is France is one of the first people to jump in on the privacy aspect of this. So, Worldcoin is set out to create what they're trying to solve, which is this notion of a world ID. They want to be able to identify a unique human. So, if you remember, we've seen other initiatives out that we're trying to identify that an individual is really a human and there's really one unique human behind that identity. Now, they want to preserve privacy. So the idea here is, hey, we don't want to know who you are, but we want to know that you're one unique real human. So the way they're going about doing this is by scanning your iris. And because there's basically no two identities in the world that have the same iris, in theory, it hasn't been shown that that's the case, then if everyone just gets their iris scanned, they will then have a database of every unique ID that is available. The problem that's going on, so obviously there's all of this biometric data, and people are like lining up to get scanned at these little orbs. They put these cool orbs out in different places. Now, they tend to do it in lots of places where there's people who are less fortunate. And, they do need identity management too. But this whole notion of this, let's have this one company solve the identity problem across all of the globe is kind of a scary aspect. The other part of this is they're incentivizing them. So by scanning your eyeballs, not only do you get your wallet or ID card or whatever you want to think of it as, right? But it's a digital identity. Not only do you get a digital identity assigned to you that you can then use, you're also given additional cryptocurrency because you're one of the first people. So they're basically incentivizing all these people to line up. Now, the crazy thing is for $30, you can buy an identity. And this is on the black market, so to speak. So you can literally go and buy right now an identity for $30, and somebody in Cambodia will scan their iris and let you have their ID for $30. This is happening all the time right now. So it actually doesn't even solve the problem they're trying to solve, and it actually creates a new problem. There are now people with multiple identities that are based on a whole bunch of other people's eyeballs, but now they have no way of fixing that. So we don't necessarily know if they're going to be able to solve that problem, but the biggest challenge, in my opinion, and what France is jumping on board quickly is, hey, what are you doing with all this biometric data? You're gathering all of this iris data, all this biometric data from everyone potentially in the world over time. And what should we expect from a privacy point of view? It sounds kind of they call it seems questionable. It sounds kind of sketchy to me, in my opinion, to give this type of information up to one person and let them have a giant database of everyone's irises.
And again, so this is something where a lot of comments are pretty great. Cherokee Survival says, so if you take somebody's eyes, you get their money. I guess in theory, I wonder if the iris changes once it's outside of somebody's body. I could see something in the future where there's some black market group that takes them out and tries to keep them alive or something so they can scan them. I don't know, but this is like so freaky as far as, and people are normalizing this kind of thing. People are normalizing putting chips inside of you. All of this. A few years ago, the mainstream will say, oh, they're paranoid about the mark of the beast or this or that. This stuff is literally going down a biblical route, and it's pretty hard to miss. Like, this is absolutely freaky. As far as like the whole crypto thing, I am not an expert. Again, Dex knows a lot more about crypto than I do, but it seems to me going all digital would be more tracked and traced. Whereas cash, you could always literally hide it under your pillow. And I just don't find the digital pillow very safe. I guess I'm old school, and maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But they want to get rid of cash completely, and then things like this, I think this is a huge red flag. Like, what the heck are they doing? Dex, go ahead.
Well, and just one more quick note. This Worldcoin is from ChatGPT's founder, Sam Altman. So for what that's worth, the AI guy, the CEO of OpenAI and founder of that, is the same person doing this.
So AI, the same people that are running this extremely powerful AI engine are now grabbing people's irises. What do you think that's going to be about? Like, come on. You don't need to be a tinfoil hatter to see that this is absolutely weird. What are they going to use that for? What's so crazy is the people that run this world, it's getting more to it's a technocracy. It's like they're going to own the technology, and you own the people. And then soon you'll need to verify to go on the internet, an iris scan or a fingerprint scan or something just to be able to use the internet. And you think that's an exaggeration. It's not. Before we move on, make sure to go check out marfugglenews.com/EMP. This is a device that can protect you against EMP. This can protect your cars, your trucks, your boats, even your motorcycles, your generators, your solar systems, and even your energy solar generator if you have one. Again, this can even be wired into a home. There's a special version that if you have an electrician put it in, it will protect everything within 250 linear feet from where it's wired in, everything that's plugged in. So this grounds the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device, house, home, car, truck. This one is actually the micro. This can be put into your car. You can actually just wire the red to the red of your battery, black to black, and green to ground. So just do that to the frame of the car, and you're done. In less than 10 minutes, your car is going to be protected against multiple EMPs or a Carrington-level event from the sun. That's the best part. It protects you against two of the most talked about disasters to happen, so you can either get home to bug in or get out to bug out. Go to marfugglenews.com/EMP to save a huge $50 off discount per device. That means if you have multiple cars to outfit, you're going to get $50 off per device, and that stacks on top of all of their sales. Whatever holidays come up, and of course, much like it, pretty much every holiday they do some sort of big sale. Our discount will stack. So time it wisely, and you could get a great deal. marfugglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. You will always get a good deal, and you'll be supporting our channel at the same time as protecting yourself. Same company is now outfitting agencies like DHS, DOD, and the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. And then Japan raises alarm over China's military, Russia ties, and Taiwan tensions in new defense paper. The Japanese government stepped up its alarm over Chinese assertiveness, warning in a report issued Friday that the country faces its worst security threats since World War II, as it plans to implement a new strategy that calls for a major military buildup. Again, they're building up. The 2023 Defense White Paper, approved by Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's cabinet, is the first since the government adopted a controversial new national security strategy in December, seen as a break from Japan's post-war policy limiting the use of force to self-defense. China, Russia, and North Korea contribute to the, quote, most severe and complex security environment since the end of World War II. According to the 510-page report, it says that China's external stance and military activities have become, quote, serious concern for Japan and the international community and present an unprecedented and greatest strategic challenge. On Thursday, Russian and Chinese delegates joined North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in North Korea's capital for a military parade that showed off the country's latest drones and long-range nuclear-capable missiles. So isn't that funny how Russia and Chinese delegates are in North Korea, and North Korea is basically showing them like, oh, look at this, all of the toys you gave me at work. I feel like North Korea is going to be their not guinea pig, but basically their puppet. They're going to be the ones who North Korea is going to start this off, with some sort of Fantastic Freddy or some sort of big event. And who knows, maybe they might wipe North Korea off the map. But that will still leave China and Russia and some damage and something that screws up everybody. North Korea has the capability to EMP. North Korea has a super EMP weapon that Russia purposely gave them. And they even have now fractional orbital bombardment systems, or the ability to do so. So this is like crazy. And watch Japan is what we were told 6 months ago, 8 months ago now. Military folks here, watch Japan. Russia and China have also stepped up strategic ties, and white paper said, noting 5 joint bomber flights since 2019 and several joint navigations of Chinese and Russian warships that it said were, quote, clearly intended for demonstration of force against Japan and of grave concern. So the white papers is what I was mentioning earlier. All these white papers that are being done paint a totally different picture from what mainstream is telling people. And I think it's because they want to keep people calm and panic-free up until the last minute. There's, of course, psyops and propaganda everywhere, and they're probably half the time just trying to scare us. But at the same time, they are also trying to do a reset. To reset, you have to destroy what went before. So for them to destroy the U.S. and every other country involved in this, they have to tear it down first. So I think this is something most of us all we know. I mean, it's just like there were so many things during CV that they told us, and everybody's like, no, that doesn't make sense. That's not common sense. We all knew, and we said the real answer, and they said, no, that's fake. That's fake news. Months later, then years later, and then all of a sudden, all this proof comes forward of every common sense thing that we all said is true. But yet, mainstream media, if they repeat enough, oh, it's not true, it's not true, it's not true, people believe it. Up until when they get in trouble, and then they get a slap on the hand, or they don't get in trouble at all, and everybody finds out it's fake. And what they'll always say is, oh, well, at the time we did think that. At the time, we were listening to scientists. At the time, we were doing this. But it always ends up wrong. With this, they're trying to tell you it's all good. It's all fine. We support one China. It's all good. At the same time, the white papers of all of our countries are preparing for war. Poland and all of NATO are beefing up. They're getting ready for World War III. And anybody that's confident about that gets called a fearmonger and a scaremonger and all of this other crap. Thank you, by the way. Thank you. Bible Talk for being here. Nice to see you, Bible Talk 777. Anyone hear about the panic rice buying? CS. There's a lot of panic buying going on. I wouldn't panic buy. I would be responsible about it. But I think and then there's panic seaweed and salt buying in Japan. But that's because of the dump of the radiation, what do you call it? The Fukushima stuff. But yeah, there's also the panic buying of everything else going on right now. But there's always some sort of excuse of why people are doing it. Let's see here. Antonio Neftali, Butterbone, Team Alaska. One thing I don't get, though, is every time you talk about this stuff, people really push back hard. It's like they're offended. They're like, it's nothing. Nothing's ever going to happen. Nothing ever happens. That's what they said before CV happened, when we said, hey, there's going to be a huge pandemic, and it looks like they're planning for some sort of massive event. They're stocking up on masks. They're stocking up on the Vs, which, again, I think they just relabeled the ones they stocked up on. They're practicing for some sort of huge event. Everybody's like, oh, fear-mongering. Oh, they're doing a tabletop exercise saying that this is exactly how it's going to go, and then it ended up being exactly how it went. You know, and now they're doing tabletop exercises again, and now they're literally telling us how it's going to be and when it's going to happen. But people are going to go, oh, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And then when it does happen, they'll be watching this show going, I can't believe it's happening. Let's see here. Thank you, Sharon Davis. Thank you again for the super sticker, Reverend Brian York. Thank you. It's my 61st birthday this Sunday. Have seen a lot of world changes, but I'm still old school through and through. Much love all. Hey, happy birthday, Reverend Brian York. And again, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope that your 61st year on Earth is as good as your 60th. A huge, huge, huge milestone, 60, and not too far off from that myself, or at least it seems. Time just literally flies by, especially once you have kids. Next exit, could you use certain different contact lenses to be someone you're not? Ooh, Dex, that's actually a good question. With the Worldcoin, I wonder if you could fake one through a what do you call it? A contact lens. That's a scary thought.
I think it's the iris is a 3-dimensional mapping, but it may be. I don't know.
That's nuts. Gosh, that's nuts. And then thank you, Bible Talk 777. Jeepers Creepers, where you get those peepers? That's funny. Interpreting North Korea's look-alike global hawk Reaper drones. Dex, so I wonder how they got wonder how they did these ones.
Exactly. And I gave you a link to a video that they put out on Twitter, or somebody put up on Twitter. It's in the screener if you want to grab that so you guys can see what we're talking about here. But yeah, apparently they rolled out 2 new drones. They both appear to look like copies of Global Hawk and a Reaper. They look very much like them. They were revealed during, I think it was yesterday. It was the Weapons and Equipment Exhibition 2023. And of course, Kim was there and they were showing off all their goods and stuff like we were just talking about in the previous article. But during that process, they rolled out these 2 new drones. They showed them off and then they obviously released this video of them. So, and if you look at the pictures in the video, because obviously a video tells a lot more than just a photograph, you look at them, they look pretty much like our equipment, just, with their insignias on them. The quality, it doesn't necessarily look as good, but at least from the video point of view, but man, they look a lot like our equipment. Look like they just basically copy and pasted them.
Yeah, so wonder if they can make these in mass. What if they have Chinese mass manufacture these things? That's a freaky thought. NK News. North Korea airs the first video footage of its 2 new military drones in action. Copy and pasted from America. And then we have what happens 1 second after an EMP attack. Dex, do you want to go over this? This is actually really interesting.
Yeah, this is an interesting. It was an interview with William Forschen. I'm sure I'm butchering his last name. He's an author who wrote a famous book, 1 Second After, and I think he's got a few more books since then. And he talks about EMPs. And one of the things that we like to talk about here quite a bit. It's one of the things we try to be prepared for. And the one point that was asked in this article, this interview that they did with him, which I thought was kind of interesting, is he said, "Look, everybody sort of thinks that in the world of nuclear weapons, you have to have precision." And everybody's sort of saying, well, yeah, don't worry about NK. They really don't have ICBMs that can get over here. And the point he was trying to make is you don't need precision when it comes to an EMP. All you have to do is get the altitude and distance. He went on to say that, like, if someone were to EMP the United States, for example, all they need to do is get any ICBM into the western portion of our country, up in the stratosphere, high up in space, as many would refer to it, put another one somewhere in the middle and another one on the East Coast. And the overlapping of those 3 would be more than enough to get the result they wanted. They don't have to be we've talked often about how, Russia, or maybe even China, but Russia specifically, because we know that they have the capability and the technology and the precision, could hit the sweet spot, sort of ring that bell, which is like right over Kansas. And if you hit that, you can pretty much just hit one and it'll take out most of the east to the west coast and up into Canada. But he was just saying, look, you don't need to have precision. You just need to be able to get it up there. And we've seen time and time again these long tests, 75 minutes on an ICBM. He wasn't sending it over our country. He would, that would cause a problem. But he was sending it straight up, seeing if he can get the distance, see if he can get the length, and he's proving that he's got it. So, and when I say he, I'm talking about Kim and NK. So they being probably the least stable of the countries that have the capability to do this to us, could easily do it to us. They don't need the high precision that is typically sought after when you think about even doing tactical nukes or land-based nukes that are taking out specific targets or hitting certain towns that are highly targeted. This requires very little precision. So very interesting interview. If you want to read more about it, the link's on our website. I know we talk about EMPs. I bet everybody here, unless you're new, you're probably well educated on this topic because we talk about it so often. But it was just some really good insights here from this author who has written numerous books on the subject.
And it points out it's again, that humanity and human nature will be a big part of it. Society just starts to break down. The food supply, 20 days, you're out of food. Medication, the pharmacies are closed. We turn on each other to try and survive. And according to congressional reporting, upward of 90% of the population would perish a year later. In just a year, we would lose 90% of our population. It's, again, it's just... and then it makes a great point here. It says one of the strengths the United States has historically enjoyed is geography. And I've talked about this many times because old school, even just 10 years ago, if you asked anybody, they'd say, oh, well, even I would say more like 20 years ago, geographically, we had oceans on either side. We had this distance between us and our adversaries. If China wanted to come and invade, it would be a long process and we would see them coming, and we have a massive navy. But at the same point, now they have basically, they've made up for a lot of that with all of the new technology that they've made, with their drone swarms, with their with the fuel enhancements that they've made, as far as advancements that they've made. Now they can get over here without refueling on a lot of their boats. And, of course, now you have most of our adversaries have submarines as well that can make it here. So, again, people think we're geographically safe because that has always been said about the U.S., that we have this huge strength of being safe. And that's not an issue with fractional orbital bombardment. In fact, we're very vulnerable to FOB systems. They could come round the Earth and come up on us, and we might not even detect it. Heck, we didn't detect it. When China launched what we believe was a FOBs, we didn't see it until after it hit its target. It went all the way around the world. A hypersonic object went around, launched another hypersonic object, and then that object, probably a missile, ended up hitting within, I think it was like 20 miles of its target. Either way, they say precision doesn't matter to this. They could hit a broad area and it could affect everything. Look at all of the things that they're prepping for right now. The picture's coming together, and what is it? Is it Occam's razor? Is that the most logical answer? Is probably it, right? I don't know if I'm paraphrasing there, but it's like, even if there's all these psyops and propaganda and whatever else, there's what makes sense. It's how we knew CV was coming. I mean, we could see it a million miles away, but the media then tells you, no, it's not. It's fine. Everything's okay. And then Taiwan amps up Chinese invasion drills to deliver a message. An assault carried by the Chinese causes a bus to overturn, several buildings to tilt and collapse, and many people are trapped, said the woman. The city of Tainan suffers indiscriminate missile attacks. This and other scenes of simulated mayhem, all delivered with cinematic production values, were part of a disaster response drill conducted in the southern Taiwanese city on Tuesday to coincide with the multi-day military exercise focused on hypothetical Chinese invasion. Now, I believe this was actually one day before all of our Black Start drills. So at the same time, the U.S. and many bases were actually doing their Black Start exercises with a grid down scenario. Taiwan was actually simulating having this whole thing go down. It says the drills and exercises are held every year and involve an element of theatricality But this year's was larger, louder, and more coordinated. The aim, participants and political analysts said, was to drive home a clear message. War could break out at any moment. It's a sentiment Taiwan's president, Tsai Ing-wen, has been cautious about delivering in the past, wary of showing panic that could weaken the economy. But as Chinese military activity intensifies around the island and the war in UKR highlights the importance of a well-prepared population, Taipei's calculations have begun to shift. Communist Party leaders in Beijing consider Taiwan part of China and have vowed to take the self-ruled island under their control, by force if necessary. Despite having never ruled there, Chinese leader Xi Jinping regards resolving Taiwan issue as central to his so-called China dream of national rejuvenation, saying it's a task that should not be passed from generation to generation. And by the way, he's not a spring chicken. He is saying that this should not be passed down to the next generation. It is going to happen now. It says there are no signs that a military confrontation is imminent. I disagree with that. But tensions across the 100-mile wide Taiwan Strait separating the island from China have increased in recent years, with relations between Taipei and Washington have grown tighter. Some military analysts warned that Taiwan's population, which has lived under the theoretical threat of Chinese invasion for decades, doesn't fully appreciate the increased risk of conflict. Basically, most people are just doing business as usual. The drills were massive, and when they do drills like this and they basically turn them exponentially up, turn the volume up on these exponentially, it kind of shows you what's going on. Which, mind you, they said that this was about 15 times bigger than it's ever been before. So definitely a huge deal. They always talk about these, it's a yearly thing or it's annual. How many years has it gone on? 2, 3 years now? It gives people the sense of, and I don't know about this direct one, but there was the other one where they say, this is just an annual exercise. And literally the one we covered about 6 months ago, it was the first year. But they were like, don't worry, it's an annual one. So yeah, it will happen next year, but it was the first annual exercise. So it's like they can always say that and minimize the actual threat level of it or the seriousness of it. Before we move on, make sure to go over and check out Energy. If you have been looking into generators, you've probably skimmed over solar generators. The reason why these are awesome, one, is because there's unlimited power as long as you have a solar panels, and two, you don't have to pay $5 a gallon for gas. I think a third big one is that they are absolutely silent, meaning that you can have backup power without the sound that people can hear from 3 blocks away. If SHTF happens, or even a really, really bad event, storm or an earthquake, whatever it may be, and your whole town is shut down, you definitely don't want to be the one that everyone can hear has power when no one else does. That's why being a gray man in survival is an amazing must. So go over to marfugglenews.com/energy, INERGY. You'll get not only our special discount, but in some cases, you'll actually get extra depending on the sale. Now, I was told last show that they are currently out of the X2, but again, they will be hopefully getting some more batches in. Right now, you can still get our discount on the Flex Tactical, and you can get our discount on the Flex 1500. These are expandable, modular, they can be altered, and they can be expanded up to 96 batteries. So it's a really, really awesome system, and it can basically meet anyone's needs as far as generation goes, depending on what they're trying to do. So go over to marfugglenews.com/energy. Highly recommend the packages with the foldable panels because you can take those with you. They have handles built in. Just grab and go. All right, and then that's marfugglenews.com/energy. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle. That supports us. It supports my family. And, of course, it supports the reinforcement of the growth of our channel. So I appreciate you guys. We are independent completely. All right, and then Dex, do you want to go over Austin? Lloyd Austin says the U.S. stands with countries against China's bullying behavior. Kind of a flip-flop.
Yeah, that's the sound bite. That's the big sound bite, quote unquote, bullying behavior and standing behind. And I would assume he really means standing behind Taiwan, but also the other countries down there that deal with the conflicts in the South China Sea. This is happening. He actually landed earlier. This is happening with his presence being shown in Australia. He's actually meeting up with Anthony, or met up with Anthony Blinken in Brisbane for I guess there's an annual bilateral meeting that's taking place today and tomorrow. And there's actually a press conference, I think, that was starting about 10 minutes ago, local time to all of us here, but obviously a different time zone over in Australia. So we'll see if any other things come out of that. I think this is, one of those things that we hear this type of statement coming from our defense secretary. We hear, a statement from, Blinken, who goes over there and says, "Oh no, no, we support a one policy," and then you get our president, who God only knows what he's going to say, but he often gets walked back from the officials at the White House. So again, there's this seesaw of statements. But look, money speaks louder than a lot of this, these blowhards and the stuff that's coming out of their mouth. We just announced 345 million in weapons packages. So I think that stands far beyond anyone's statements or walkbacks, if you want to call it that, from the White House on our position against China with regards to Taiwan.
Yeah, they say they support one China policy and then send $350 million worth of our defensive technology. I think somebody's lying. And then China offers to hold joint military drills with the Philippines. This is super weird. And I guess I would love the Foogle fam's opinion on this. If you are active or retired and you follow this very closely, then you would definitely think this is strange. The U.S. and Philippines have been working pretty close, and they've been essentially trying to help back up Philippines, been trying to do things with the Philippines, and now China offers to hold joint military drills with them. It says, out of Manila, China has offered to hold joint military exercises with the Philippines, local media reported on Thursday, quoting Manila's military chief. Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief Romero Bronner will study the offer, which was presented to him by China's ambassador to Manila, CNN Philippines and state-run PTV reported. They said that they submitted some white papers we have to study, Bronner said in a video post by CNN Philippines on messaging platform X. And by the way, it's always CNN that gets these things, right? Doesn't matter if it's CNN Philippines or CNN Europe, whatever it is. They always get the weird propaganda exclusives. And it says on messaging platform X, formerly known as Twitter. I can't believe he's actually changing the name. Like, that's a stupid idea. Just keep it as Twitter. It's X. What the heck are you doing, dude? You changed the logo on it, but it's still Twitter. People are never going to call it X. Oh, I'll hit you up on X. Sorry. Just personal opinion. And there was no immediate comment from Bronner, but military spokesman Medel Aguilar said that he did see the video of Bronner's interview and reiterated the conversation he had with the Chinese diplomat was informal. Says, quote, "I am not aware if we are already furnished with the white papers," Aguilar told Reuters. Bronner spoke to reporters on the sidelines of the event hosted by China's ambassador in Manila to mark the anniversary of the People's Liberation Army. China's embassy in Manila did not immediately respond to requests for comment. "We try to establish relations with armies, with armed forces around the world. This is one way for us to prevent war." Or to study what their military has, maybe? I don't know. What would be the reason behind this? And this is literally the Philippines, the ones that are complaining about how China's harassing them. And some experts say that the U.S. needs the Philippines to kind of hold China down. And if our soldiers and if our stuff is there, then it definitely does a good job of that. Dex, it's just weird. Why would they want to do that? Do you think maybe they're trying to study their military for when something goes down, or
Well,
trying to bribe them to be on their side?
yeah, let's not forget it wasn't this current leadership in the Philippines, but the prior one that had put in a stronger relationship and had sided with China. And once the leadership changed, then we started to see everything go back to America. It just makes me wonder if they're trying to get their fingers sort of back in, maybe through the military or through other means into some luck, because there's probably people that are still embedded throughout their political system and military system that continue to favor China over the U.S. So I'm just wondering if this is not a tactic that they're trying to use to reestablish or try to rebuild that relationship they have, even though they don't have it with the current president of the Philippines. So this could be that tactic. It certainly could be, like you said, maybe to get insight and intel. But there's something going on with them trying to woo, the Philippines away from the U.S. and back to China. This is a clear tactic for that.
And then, as we spoke about earlier, Russian fighter jet strikes another American drone over Syria in the 6th incident this month. It's always a drone, mind you, and luckily, or at least that's what they say. It says a Russian fighter jet fired flares and struck another U.S. drone over Syrian airspace on Wednesday, the White House said, in a continued string of harassing maneuvers that have ratcheted up tensions between the two global powers. It's the 6th reported incident this month and the 2nd in the past 24 hours in which the United States has said that Russian warplanes have flown dangerously close to American manned and unmanned aircraft, putting crews and the planes at risk of raising question as to what the U.S. may need to do in response. 2 U.S. officials confirmed that the strike damaged the MQ-9 Reaper drone. The officials were not authorized to publicly discuss the matter and spoke on the condition of anonymity. It says, quote, "We've seen the early reports of a second Russian fighter aircraft this week flying dangerously close to our drone on a mission to counter Islamic State militants in the area," White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said, and she did not provide other details, but said that Russia's, quote, "close approach to and deployment of flares over U.S. drones during a routine mission violates international norms." And then they just have a picture of Wagner. Gosh, he is a scary looking dude. Who's that Addams Family? Who's the bald guy from Addams Family? What the heck? The uncle. Uncle Fester? Yeah. That's a good Fester. I heard, actually, I don't know. He might not be able to get extra work right now because of the strike. And then Sweden, Finland, and Switzerland are considering security links with the U.S. National Guard. It's all coming together. Switzerland, Finland, and Sweden are considering joining the U.S. National Guard Security Partnership Program in a further expansion of American military ties across Europe after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The chief of the National Guard, General Dan Hokanson, was expected to announce the discussions with each country, which have not been previously been reported, in remarks at the National Press Club on Thursday. The Associated Press obtained an advance copy of Hokanson's speech. Interest by the 3 countries in the program is the latest indication of how Russia's conflict has led each of those nations to take steps that consider ending long-standing policies of military non-alignment. So again, this is Switzerland, Finland, and Sweden, which in all of their cases, they have had each individually had kind of a neutral stance or have stayed out of things, have not been aligned. Now they are essentially doing that. I believe that this is definitely going to happen of some way, and it's probably going to get a lot tighter after they get connected with this. It says Finland and Sweden are the most recent countries to seek NATO memberships. Finland joined in April, and Sweden is waiting for approval. Longtime neutral Switzerland began considering easing export controls on sending weapons to active war zones earlier this year. again, because they do have, and they have some crazy weapons that they make, and they have, I believe, exclusive stuff that they've designed and make that would actually be of use to a lot of the NATO kind of alignment. So this is very telling of what is going on here. And then, Dex, do you want to talk about Poland to double the size of military in response to security threat?
So the deputy prime minister, Yaroslav Kaczynski, I'm sure I'm butchering his name, apologies, said this in a visit when he was at the town of Koden near the Belarusian border. He said that they have basically doubled the number of troops they've deployed in response to what's going on with the threats from Belarus and specifically Russia via Belarus. So with the Wagner troops moving there, with the heavy equipment, with the nuclear armed airplanes and boomers that have been placed there, and even Lukashenko saying, yes, we have them, we can launch them when we need to, and we want to figure out a way that we can do it on our own without, Russia telling us we have to. We want a new policy or an algorithm, as he called it, in place. All of this has now caused Poland to double the entire size of their troop deployment across the border. So things are ratcheting up. This is not heading in the right direction. It's heading in the wrong direction. So when you start to look at all of these, each of these actions, has a reaction. So the more troops they put there, then we're going to see more things ratchet up from Belarus's side as well as Russia's side. And then we'll see how this just continues to escalate and get bigger and bigger until hopefully cooler heads prevail. But if they don't, what's happening. The writing's on the wall. As far as, many of us feel like a lot of this there's a level of orchestration or at least intention by the industrial complex to have more conflict going in the world so they can produce and create more weapons and gear and munitions for it and make more money for themselves.
This is what I think is going to happen. So if you just take out what is, just look at all of the different moves that Poland has made, look at all of the announcements that have been made, look at the changes in NATO. So now there's troops from NATO in all of these countries. Instead of Poland holds the line and then Article 5 is done and then NATO troops come in, they have now changed it to where NATO will just be there and be pre-prepared for it. They have doubled their troop deployment, and we don't know how many of these guys. These could be, again, this could also be a huge number of NATO troops there as well. That could make up a good portion of that. They have been putting dragon's teeth on their border. They have now built up a ton of stuff. They're getting prepared for the beginning of this war. It's going to be Poland versus Belarus or Poland versus Russia, whichever one. Just like World War II, Poland's going to be a massive part of World War III. I think that Poland and Japan and Belarus and Russia are going to be a huge part of this whole thing going forward. And then if you look at this, not only are they preparing there, they're building structures, they're building defenses, they're bringing very specific gear to the borders. This is preparing for a conflict. I think that this moves up the timeline of when this starts off. Poland is going to be at war with one of these countries. And all of the surrounding countries are going to end up joining in. This is a NATO country. If people can't see this, what's happening here, I don't know what to say. The most likely answer is the answer. I'm telling you. The crazy part about this is they're doing all of this, and many people here just don't know what's going on at all. And they don't care because they can't find Poland on a map. But this is going to affect all of us very fast. Real quick, make sure to go over and check out marfugglenews.com/prep. If you don't have food, if you're one of the many that has 3 days of food in your fridge and in your pantry, then I would definitely change that. Go to marfugglenews.com/prep. You can get long-term survival food. This is freeze-dried food that will stay good for 25 plus years. So in the year 2052, you can open this up, add water, cook in water, and you have a meal. I mean, don't really need to tell you why that would be important. 25 years. You don't have to worry about rotating it for 25 years. So if you have a kid now, they'll be getting married by the time you need this stuff. So marfugglenews.com/prep. This is, again, something that a lot of people consider even an investment at this point because freeze-dried food has gone up. It's actually skyrocketed. It's tripled in price in the last 3 years. If you would have bought this 3 years ago, you wouldn't be paying 3 times the price. If you buy it now, in 3 years from now, you'll still have 22 years left on the shelf, so you won't have to worry about buying it in 3 years from now. Go to marfugglenews.com/prep. And again, there's always changing sales. Dex, I don't know what the current one is right now, but they did have a week special. They always have usually a month or a 3-month or a week. Either way, if you use our link, you will automatically get taken to the latest deal. So make sure to go check that out.
Yeah, it looks like they are now doing the 3-month supply back again with 25% off. So that's a really good deal. Yeah, jump on that. They also have the 2-week supply on there as a deal as well on sale, but the 3-month has got the 25% kicker on it.
Yeah, so definitely and that might actually equal one of the best ones they've done. If I'm correct, yeah, I believe that should be around $200 off, or maybe even a little bit more.
Yeah, it's right there, 200.
Go to marfugglenews.com/prep. Again, that helps support us as an independent channel. We, again, couldn't do it without that. So thank you. And again, it's going to support you, and you're going to have something for in any disaster. And then Ukrainian staff at Zaporizhzhia and nuclear power plant refused to switch power unit into hot shutdown mode in spite of order by Russians. Dex, what is a hot shutdown mode? I thought, isn't that something that happens on prom night or something?
It's not a cold shutdown mode. Let's put it that way.
So why are they refusing?
Apparently, the Russians are wanting them to put it in hot shutdown mode, and the Ukrainians are saying, no, we're not doing it. So this is, I'm not sure if we understand what the, I think the cold shutdown mode obviously is much more safe. It probably takes longer for it to get back into power production mode when it's in cold mode versus hot mode. That would be my, uneducated guess as to the terminology they're using. I'm not very familiar with how nuclear power plants run. Outside of watching The Simpsons, that's about as far as I've made it in that category. But seriously, though, this is definitely a bit of a conflict, because what you're seeing is the plant is still occupied. It's still certainly run by Russia, but they've been using UKR's civilians there that work at the plant. Thousands of them work there. And not all of them are allowed in there. There's a big town right outside where they're keeping them and allowing them to live, but not allowing them to leave. And they're ordering them to do this kind of whatever work they want done or whatever decisions they want made. They're ordering them, according to the reports we get, they're ordering them to do it. Now, what's happening right now is they're really trying to press them to do this hot shutdown mode, and they're refusing. So they're certainly suggesting that they're being pressured very heavily. Now, they haven't explained what that means. And again, this is all coming from, at least this particular report is coming from UKR media. So we have to, take this with a big grain of salt. They could just be trying to make it out like, look at what good things we're doing to try to, fight back from within, when maybe none of that's actually happening at all. So we have to sort of be cautious with the information that's in this article. But we pay attention to it only because Zaporizhzhia has been in the news. It's had the finger pointed at it by both sides, at both their medias, both their leaderships, saying that, hey, something's going to happen here, because they blame the other side for setting it up. And here we then have yet again another miniature conflict, if you want to call it that, within the rank and file of the actual plant and who is in charge of making the decisions, yet who's in charge of pushing the buttons to make the actions happen.
I can't read some of those comments, but some of them were pretty good. Andrew Simpson says something like it hot. Danish girl, much love. Hey, Danish girl, nice to see you here. As the Zaporizhzhia thing, it's just most people are probably just tuned out. Anything Zaporizhzhia at this point. If anybody watches a lot of news or follows us, you would know that they've been talking about Zaporizhzhia since the beginning. Literally since the beginning, since the first day. Zaporizhzhia was brought up because the whole water bridge that they made right when it started. It's also been used as this potential Fantastic Freddy if they end up doing something there, if something goes off. Blumenthal and Graham just came out a couple weeks ago and said, if anything happens at Zaporizhzhia, if any radiation goes into NATO territory, or if anything happens as far as a sabotage there, then we want a resolution that basically Article 5 immediately, don't wait, no Article 4, just jump right into World War. And they said either they attack or something happens to Zaporizhzhia. So we do continue to watch it. It seems, again, kind of the Occam's razor type thing. Like the most likely scenario is probably going to be it. They've been training everybody to watch Zaporizhzhia for this whole time. Is it going to end up like, nothing happened? Why don't they use any of the other nuclear power plants too? There's other ones that they are currently around. It is the largest though, so I guess maybe it's because it has the capability to do a lot of damage. And if this was all BS, I guess they do this because people do know what a nuclear disaster looks like Chernobyl, right? It's nasty in everybody's memories that lived through it and that remembers all the coverage from that. Raquel R, hey, nice to see you. By the way, let's hear. Ilea says, if we get EMP'd, I'm going to miss moderating for you guys. Ilea, we will still set up. We'll probably have a ham radio show so you can like beep in and go, Ilea on nightstand, stop swearing or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. We'll have a call sign, and instead of screen names, we'll have call signs. And instead of chat, we'll cry together. B-Roll Beast, the mask was perfect for scanning of the eyes. We all are on file already. Too late. I don't know. I mean, they do have some pretty advanced cameras out there. And a lot of people said that when the mask came out in Japan, especially, and well, in China, we know that. They had actual, they had all these systems that even with the mask, they could identify people. And everybody said, oh, this is going to be perfect for robbing a bank. But unfortunately, if there is technology that can zoom in and get your iris without you even knowing, that's a scary thought. Remember when New York had those weird sculpture things that went up, but they were actually like these super crazy $1 million sculpture that turned out to be some sort of cameras? I wonder if that was testing out a thing like that. And that happened right before CV started. I wonder if they ever took those things down or if those stayed there throughout CV. And then Kenny Crowder, good evening, Adam, Dex, and Mods. Foogle family, stay safe. Keep your head on a swivel. Love your way. Thank you, Kenny Crowder. I appreciate that. Thank you for sticking around for a long, long time. Thank you, one of my OG subscribers. And then M-A-R, keep up the great content. Well, thank you. And then prep for your family and those left behind, Nerd Bucket. It is, well, it's definitely true. There's going to be a lot of people not prepared, and that's what scares me. It's not the preppers, that's for sure. It's going to be all the people that laughed at us this entire time and said that it was all fear-mongering and it was stupid. I have close friends, and I know, looking at what they have, they're going to be here within 10 minutes of any disaster. I know. I just know. And they're going to go, oh, you told me so. I'm sure all of you guys have somebody you know that's going to be knocking at your door. Oh, you were right. Unfortunately, it will be too late. U.S. orders government personnel, family members to leave Haiti. Wonder why. There's super shady stuff going on in Haiti and has been for, I don't know how long. I don't know when it officially started, but for the last year, there's been a lot of ganda and cover-ups of some sort. At least that's what I believe in Haiti. So, and again, now they've basically said the State Department, U.S. State Department on Thursday ordered non-emergency government personnel and family members to leave Haiti as soon as possible, citing kidnapping, crime, civil unrest, and poor health care infrastructure. And then the State Department said U.S. citizens not working for the government should also leave Haiti as soon as possible by commercial or other privately available transportation options. What could this be, you guys? I'm not a Haiti expert. In fact, I only found out about some of the Haiti stuff from Clayton Morris at Redacted. Great show. And what was cool, and I believe he had a pretty good handle on this because he actually spoke to some of the folks in Haiti. So I wonder what actually is going on there, and there is most definitely some shady stuff going on there. Dex, why do you think they would... Do you think that something's about to happen, or they're just doing this as a precaution, or is something going to pop off in Haiti? Does Haiti fit into the bigger picture of everything else? Is there any connections with anything else that's going on in the world?
Yeah, I think the when this type of announcement comes out, it's usually a precursor. It certainly happens when things get to a certain level, but we've been talking about Haiti for a while. They really don't have a government right now. They're being run by, gang warlords and whatnot. Back and forth between the military and the leadership was thrown out a while back, and it's kind of just all up in the air right now. And that instability is a problem for everyone around. It's a huge problem for the people that live there, obviously, but it's a big problem for everyone around that area, because when there's instability, that's an opportunity for not just regime change, but external influence to take over, whether that be Russian, China, or the US or others. And I think that when there's this level of instability and no clear path to getting it stable, that adds an extra layer that countries like ourselves will look at it and say, well, that's a very close and very obviously very close to our land mass. We want to have as much influence in there as possible. So by pulling people out may mean that there's a sign of things to come. Because I know a lot of the countries, whether it was Mexico, Canada, the U.S., et cetera, have all been talking about and doing little things here and there to try to create stability in that country, but nothing's really been successful. So if this is the precursor, then maybe expect to see something else happen in the not too distant future in as far as bringing some level of calm to what's been going on in that country. Otherwise, like I said, somebody like China or Russia could roll in, easily throw some money at it, power up with whoever's got the greatest amount of power there that they can control, and then take over the country.
And we have breaking news right now, and it looks like, and this is actually a store I've been to many times. I'm pretty sure I know where this is going down. In Seattle, there is some sort of bang bang event, and Ilea actually brought this up in chat. Breaking news: multiple people shot outside of a grocery store in Seattle, Washington. Now, this is what I see, Ilea. So if you have an article, please text it to me or text it to. Actually, if you can, just text it to me or text it to Dex. Police are investigating a shooting in the 9200 block of Rainier Avenue South. Please stay out of the area. I don't know. I don't know the address of that, but it sounds like the Walmart on Rainier. There's always stuff going on there. It is the worst Walmart in the world. There is an open air drug market there. It is constantly cops, all sorts of bad stuff. Yeah, it is so bad down there. The Sonic shut down. I don't think I covered this, but it was so crazy. We went to that Sonic a couple times before it shut down, and we actually got to know like one of the ladies that worked there, and a few of the times we ordered Sonic there, and I swear, like we got the what do you call it, the cheese sticks, and they usually taste like, mozzarella sticks from the fair, and they tasted like super gross. And then the marinara was straight up ketchup. It was like ketchup mixed with salsa. And we're like, this is weird. And she said that the owners basically had some sort of dispute going on with Sonic, and they didn't want to pay the prices that they had for the food costs. So they were going to Walmart and buying the Walmart across the parking lot where I think this shoot thing is going on. And they were just buying stuff from the freezer aisle at Walmart and making that as an official Sonic thing. They ended up getting shut down for it. And it was so funny because I called this before. I'm like, this does not taste like Sonic mozzarella sticks. This tastes like some frozen freezer aisle stuff. And it was. And now it's all fenced up, and there's like an encampment inside of it and around it. But that area is just so bad. I mean, most people don't like Walmarts normally. This is like, it's a bad Walmart. I asked my friend Nick to meet me there one time. He's like, I don't go to that one. I won't even meet you in the parking lot. I'm like, dude, it's a Walmart. He's like, yeah. That was the first time I went to that place, and I was like, oh, I get it. There was literally a stabbing that day right next to the building by the garden area. Let's see here. So let me see. Yeah, Rainier Beach. Okay. Safeway. Okay, so no, even worse. The Safeway down the street. And it says, was reported on Friday night, the grocery store is located in 9200. So this is across the street from Walmart and down about, I don't know, a quarter mile. They're asking for people to stay away from the area. To be honest, I'm not surprised by this. And what's crazy is there's always events down there. And somebody on the radio says, what's up with the officer on the scanner that literally questioned if it's an active event? Probably because it's Friday night at Safeway on Rainier Beach. I have listened to the radio for many years now, and there's always a active event there. So I actually don't think that that's strange. And what's crazy to me is I've heard where there's at least, I covered this one time, 7 people were banged in that neighborhood, and they didn't call it. Nobody covered it because it's in the ghetto. Isn't that funny? Depending on who gets hurt or where it is, they just won't cover it. Or in the cities where they're already questioning how these cities are run, they don't cover it. But in the other cities, say they're run by different people, they cover it and they say that it's, motivated by this, motivated by that. But they will not cover certain things that happen here. 7 people were banged down in the South End, same area that this is going on. And they were searching the whole city for the person who did it. Not a word on mainstream, not a word even locally until like 6 hours later. And they're like, it was an event. But if you were listening live to the scanner, they were driving around on the scanner. The EMTs or the police are saying, I found another one. I found another one. Found another one. That's how it is in some of the neighborhoods here. And no, I'm sure there's places in the world that it's much worse. I'm sure there's cities like Chicago and places like that where it's like, that's just their nightly thing. Like, oh, found another victim. Oh, boom, boom. Oop, I just hit one. Sorry. Oop. Oh, I was getting a donut and I actually, ended up saving a victim. It's like, it's just bad. And I think a lot of the folks out in the country don't really see it as much. But when you live in the city, you see it all the time. You see how bad our country is getting. It's just absolutely bad. Thank you, Ilea. Thank you for letting me cover that too. I wouldn't have saw that until after the show. So thank you. Good to know too. Again, thank you, Ilea. Thank you, Nerd Bucket. Thank you, Mar, Kenny Crowder, Marianne Spinelli. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you, Marianne. Critics sound alarm on JB's administration bid to destroy free speech after Facebook censorship allegations. Dex, do you want to explain why why people are saying this?
Certainly. So politics aside, just getting into the nitty gritty of at least what they're trying to bring to light. They're trying to bring to light the fact that the documents that they have now and that they've revealed, as they're calling a quote unquote smoking bang bang, that this is showing that not only did the current administration ask and push big tech to censor, but they got them to go and push them hard enough to go beyond their own internal policies, and go beyond what they normally do. And that's all been documented. So this it does not just showing the collusion between, say a government and a big tech company to censor and stymie the speech of citizens. It's saying not only that, they got them to do more. They pushed them harder than their own policy. So whatever their policy would allow, is usually they would try to find ways, as we've seen in some of the X files, as we can call them that now, right? Instead of the Twitter files, the X files. We saw how the government would always try to find any line they could use. Well, your policy says this, so you need to put this, take this person out or shut this account down. But they were actually taking it beyond that. And so this is coming to light. Of course, the political side of it and the politicking that'll go on will be grandiose, especially from one side, because it's against the other. So we'll see that. But, peeling back that aside, I mean, I want to get into the whole the politics of it. There is a lot of important details that go on under the covers here when we start to look at documents that come out, memorandums, emails, all of that stuff that start to show what a government, no matter who's in charge, may be doing to its citizens. And we need to pay attention to that. And that's what this is all about.
Well, what's going to happen of it? I don't get it. I don't think this should be like a sided thing. I think it should be, no matter who it is, they should be mad about this. Just wait until it's you, I guess. It's one side or the other.
And speaking of social, Adam, Linda, I don't know how to say her last name. Yaccarino? Is that Yaccarino? Yaccarino, I think. Linda Yaccarino, who is the new CEO of X, also formerly known as Twitter, had just published a couple hours ago. It's time to update. So I think, and I went to the App Store, and sure enough, there's a new update for the app, and it is no longer called Twitter. It is called X. I think they still call it Twitter for the sake of search in the App Store, but it looks like they're doing the full, not just the logos, they're doing everything, and it's all gone down. The website now no longer has the bird, so it's all changing.
The whole point was they took over Twitter. Twitter used to be this. If you were to look at it like he saved Twitter, then keep it as Twitter and run it like a good place. Now turning it into X, it's not even Twitter anymore. It just bought I don't know. I don't like the X name. I don't know what the whole deal with that is. Not to mention the symbology. Watch any Jacob Israel video on it. You'll find out all the crazy stuff behind it. All right. And then, go check out Tom McDonald and Adam Calhoun's American Flags video. Came out this morning. Very good suggestion. You guys got it. Adam Calhoun is good too. If you guys haven't checked him out, check this out. Yeah. We need this spirit again. They are riding a tank. That is so dope. By the way, Tom McDonald, he has him and Nova have made all of their videos on their own. Like what I'm inspired by is especially I actually love if he ever gets to see this, how you guys did your community post on how you made the videos, like the one with the clouds where you put up the community post that showed how little you actually spent and how you did it with almost nothing. The one where you grabbed all the old TVs and used those TVs, that was really cool. I normally never missed a Friday morning thing. People have turned it into politicization or whatever. He is a rare success story in independence, and then they shipped out all of the discs themselves. So I hope I saw a comment that earlier, oh no, he lives in a mansion or something. I hope he lives in the biggest mansion. I hope he gets 20 cars because he grinded for it and he did all the work himself. He didn't just take a check from a label. He turned down several labels. And then my friend who actually works for one of these independent things, independent music label, they apparently he verified that he turned down a massive deal from somebody. So massive deal. And this was earlier on before all of that. He turned down the money for it. So that's why I respect him. Found out through somebody who absolutely knows and who has talked to one of these bigger labels and is friends with somebody who is one of the underwriter type people that writes up contracts, that Tom McDonald early on turned down a giant deal and then continued and then made a song and quoted it and said some stuff about it and basically turned down a huge, massive deal when he was struggling. This is the kind of independent stuff that I like. And if you know, you can disagree with his message or whatever, but honestly, I wish I could rewind back to 2002, not after the 2001 event happened in 9/11, but how people were right after that, when everybody was like, I just remember everybody was opening doors for everybody. Everybody was just so nice to everybody. It was like everybody had each other's back. I was taking the bus back then. On the bus, everybody offered their seat to everybody. It was the weirdest thing. Like everybody was pushing each other up. I wish we could go back to that instead of this whole divisive crap that they have put us through for now years. It's not a left-right thing. It's a divided thing down the middle. Doesn't matter. And it's social media. I've been talking about this on social media about how the algorithms basically push whatever they want to us. I see it. It doesn't matter what, after they've got you pegged on what they think you are, then you only see videos and things that reflect that. I never see a video from the left of their views. I don't see the Young Turks. I'm subscribed to the Young Turks. I don't see their videos. Yeah, I don't like them, and the algorithm knows that. I don't see videos of the opposite of the Ben Shapiro rants. I don't see videos of all that. You know what that makes? That makes it to where I only believe this one view, right? That's why I have to search it out. And I try to search it out because I want to see the other side. If you're on the left, you should be searching out. You should be, if you consider it torture to listen to Ben Shapiro or any of these people, you should torture yourself then, because you should be listening to both sides of the view. But the algorithms on all of these platforms have pegged us. Even if you're on like a home computer, you think, oh, I went to an unlogged out thing. You're still not going to get it. They have ways of doing it. They track you through multiple apps, and even if you're in a what do you call it? Where the private mode or whatever, some other app might be changing the algorithm for that because they're tracking you cross apps. It's absolutely nuts. But yeah, this is American Flags. Go check it out over on Tom McDonald's channel. Hopefully he's going to be hitting 4 million subscribers. Congratulations, Tom. And congratulations, Nova. I think Nova, when they got together, she changed his life. But yeah, that's a story that is pretty inspiring for anybody that's independent. All right, and then Dex. Let's see here. Let's go over the web only. We've got lots of crazy stuff here.
We sure do. And Adam, if you want to refresh the page, a couple things have been added. One thing that you all may have, well, we talked about earlier on. There's a tweet that Adam had put out showing people lining up to get their eyeballs scanned. So we were talking about Worldcoin. You can see that video. It's right there on our website. As far as the rest of the story, it's on our website. It's marfooglenews.com. You click on the thumbnail for the show. You can also open that show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you right here. Everything we just talked about, it's right here on the page. You get to this yellow bar, this overflow section. This is where the rest of the story is. So our current administration has said he will not pardon his son. I think that if you have the DOJ and the FBI in your pocket, you don't need pardons. You've got more power than pardons. But anyway, that's the statement he made. Let's see if he sticks to it, given everything that's going on. If you're wanting to get in on the $725 million settlement from Facebook, you're running out of time. So you better go click on that sign up form if you want to give that those people your information, just like you've given it away to Facebook. But at least you can get your fair share of however many pennies or dollars that may mean to you. That's available. Look, there's a ship burning off the Dutch coast. It's got 500 EVs that are on fire, 3,000 cars on the ship. Can you imagine all the electric vehicle fires and not being able to put them out, and they're just sitting on this giant floating ship? That's a mess. Hey, I know you guys talked about McConnell. There's a interesting take on what had happened. There's a lady in green. I can't remember her name. I think she's a I don't want to butcher her name. I totally forgot it. But anyway, pay attention to the video. She like walks up and pokes him in the arm at the exact moment when he stops talking. A lot of speculation about that, so go check it out. I made one tweet about it, but for mine, you can probably find a whole bunch of others, or just go search. You can see a lot of people have done the analysis and sort of the close-ups of the video, or just watch the video again yourself and look for it. You'll be like, what is she doing?
It almost looks like he was like somebody. I even thought maybe somebody held up a sign like, "We have your kids," or something, like something crazy. Like, what made him do that? But then he gets walked off like a geriatric. Normally, he's very talkative. He's not, he's super loud but he looks lost. He looks like that's more than a brain fart. He's on stage and he went blank. Some people said heat stroke. Some people this, but she touches him and then boom, he's blank.
Exactly. And there's something in her left hand. You might say, oh, it's just her glasses, her reading glasses or something, but there's a weird motion she makes right
before looks like
she touches him, and she kind of flips it back into her hand. Some suggest she may have passed it off to the person behind her. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's crazy. If you watch the first touch, he stops talking, and then she tries to touch him again, which you can sort of see in the bottom of the video.
No, but look, it looks like there's something metal there. And she does this. She goes, and then that goes underneath the book. That is so weird. And I showed you guys this the other night, but it was from the left to the right. And you see him just freeze. Like she touched the off button or something. So weird. Boink.
Maybe she was reaching for the, ×2 button to speed him up, and Boink. She missed.
She hit rewind. She hit the space bar and it paused him. Boink. 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 Boink.
Hey, I know people are like, hey, it's just glasses, right? Or they're like, there's nothing, but why did she come up out of nowhere? Why did she push through the men? And in the middle of him speaking, she's going to reach out and touch him. Who does that when somebody's on a podium? Nobody interrupts the speaker by grabbing him, touching him, hitting him, or poking him from underneath. That's weird.
It's weird. Super weird.
All right. Well, let me get through the rest real quick, folks, before we run out of time. We do have all the political coverage. Of course, T-Man's just being, thrown all over the place. So if you want to know what's happening there, get this, RFK, they denied Secret Service protection. They being our current president said, you're not going to get it. Of course, he's now referring to his father's event as part of that. So you want to learn more about that, it's all there. We do have some other things that have been happening, like what's going on with some of the homeless situations in LA and even Anchorage, proposing some things that are happening there. You want to talk about high inflation? You want some Gouda cheese in Cuba? I don't know who eats Gouda in Cuba, but maybe they do. But it'll cost you an entire month's worth of salary just to get a piece of Gouda cheese. That's crazy. It's kind of like what we saw in Venezuela.
I know who eats it. Cuba Gouda Jr. Wait,
that's good.
Cuba Gouda. Wait, Cuba Gouda Jr.
That's great.
Ilea's laughing. At least Ilea.
Yeah, I know she is. We do have the updates with all the other stuff that's going on in Russia and with the UKR conflict that's happening. So there's some updates on all of that. It's on the site. And the family of the soldier who ran into NK is doubting the story. So if you want to know more about their opinion, it's on there. That and so much more, it's on our website, marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show or open up that show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you right here.
The Sarah Barra did a forehead slap emoji. Yeah, I think a lot of people just did that. If you turn the video, let's see here. Oh, that's got skipped. Something about the Masons. That's a dad joke. That's a bad dad joke. Bobby Brown, Viv B, thank you. And then Ilea got the joke. And we're going to be going over to Jams. And got to thank all the rest of the folks over on DLive. Texas, Rob49, Gem, Choom, Badger1, Cognitable, Renegade PD, Yobi, Beer Juice, Kiki Gray, Fractured Fusion, One on B. Of course, we got Cookielicious, Kimberly, Kimbria, Johnson, Cookielicious, Scooby-Doo Right, Howdy Marf, and Chat. Zuby360, thank you, and thank you. Thank you, Fractured Fusion again. Chance Paladin, thank you for modding, and then thank you, Jammer. Appreciate all of you guys. Make sure to be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Thank you, Dex, for your service. I appreciate it.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And it is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.